Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Modern and Modest with myself, Noshina Ghani, as your host at the beautiful Aha Avondale Boutique Hotel. We all are guilty of overindulgence of sweet treats and we tend to regret it later. But what if I told you that you could still enjoy that same yummy goodness without having to stress about the extra calories? Today we are joined by Fatima Mutala Mullah, who will be discussing how we could still enjoy those yummy goodies without feeling the guilt. Assalamu alaikum, Fatima, and welcome to Modern and Modest.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Only a pleasure. So Fatima, could you give our viewers a bit of background about yourself? Who is Fatima Mutala Mullah?
I think firstly, I would love to call myself a mom, a wife, and then an entrepreneur, because juggling all of that has its ups and downs, mostly ups, alhamdulillah. But yes, I'm a busy mom and alhamdulillah happy wife. So yes, that's who I am.
Okay. So you're known as the low-carb and gluten-free queen here in Durban, and you've launched Binte's Kitchen. So can you tell us more about that story or that journey with gluten-free?
It's truly humbling to be known as the gluten-free queen, but getting to that point obviously took a lot of highs and lows. So basically for me, my husband bought me an online business that retailed abayas and scarves, and I just never found my passion with that. So it just lay dormant, and I had this trademark. So what to do with it? So I took that upon myself to create something else. I attended a business network called Adiva Business Network, and Adila from there then guided me to changing the entire concept of my online business to Binte's Kitchen, which I then did. So we started with humble beginnings with retailing gourmet popcorn and that type of thing, but still I wasn't feeling it. In that interim, I had lost triplets. So not knowing that I was in postpartum, I sort of ate myself into obesity, whereupon I met an amazing woman, Adila from the Rock Workout, who then started training me and took it upon herself to sort of nurture me and, let's say, rescue me. And she would then tell me, you know what, let's do this, let's make this. You're so creative in the kitchen. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I started eating healthy, changing my lifestyle, making all of these low-carb, gluten-free treats, but not retailing it just as yet. I started going into the market by giving it to like bloggers and people from my community, people that were gluten intolerant, and then I was getting good feedback. And I said, hold on, there's a niche in the market for this. I haven't seen a halal option of gluten-free and low-carb anywhere till that point. And that's where we started, just with humble beginnings like that.
Alhamdulillah. So how long has it been for Binte's Kitchen? When have you launched Binte's Kitchen, and how long has this been in progress for as a business as such?
We officially launched in 2016, whereby the change of name from Bling by Bin to Binte's Kitchen in 2016. So I would say we official from 2016, but upcoming and putting the hardcore effort of this whole gluten-free low-carb thing would be from the end of 2017 till now.
So just about 2 years
Yes.
now? And in these 2 years, now that your focus has been business and growing it, how has this growth been for you over this 2-year period?
It's been phenomenal, really, alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah, because we didn't expect it to sort of take off this way. And surprisingly, people are so much into healthier options these days that it surprises me that, alhamdulillah, from this year we took on extra staff. I have an amazing team behind me. So with that, we sort of grew. And this year we entered a few competitions also. So we're feeling good.
Now, focusing on low carb and gluten-free, there has to be a lot that goes into the working out your calorie intake and In other words, if I'm having a regular cookie as opposed to a low carb or a gluten-free cookie, what is the difference with calories, and how within your staff or within your team, do you have an individual that helps and guides you like a nutritionist to actually put that together for you?
So this year we employed my PA, who's also a nutritionist, and she's also going to be furthering her studies towards that. So she does all of the nutritional information for us. Her name is Fatima, and she's amazing, my backbone. She does the calorie intake, and yes, don't add this, no, this would add on the carbs for me, because I'm just the creative mind behind it. The nutritional facts and that type of thing, that's where she comes in. We have an amazing baker which I've brought on this year that I have personally trained. So she's also amazing, and 2 other staff. So yes, we just love our team. We have a whole lot of laughs and jokes, and it's great. It's great coming to work.
Great teamwork.
Yeah.
So Fatima, the difference between a low carb or a gluten-free cookie as opposed to your regular cookie, what is the difference? Surely there has to be a huge calorie difference between the two.
So a normal cookie would be between 90 and 120 calories, whereas ours is just 60 calories. This year we have created a protein cookie, so pre and post workout also, it's amazing, and people just love the protein cookie, which is the dark chocolate one. About 2 months ago we came up with the low carb cookie, so that's just low carb, it's not gluten free. And we continuously trying new things daily, but before we take it out into the market, we always give people to sample it and tell us. We open to criticism as well, because it is a home-based industry after all, and clients have to be happy. So yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to cost and pricing, we know that your unhealthy food options tend to be more cost effective. They're quicker, more cost effective, as opposed to your healthy options or your organic foods. How would you say this has been for you? Because if I look at your health bread or your gluten-free bread as opposed to a regular loaf of bread, what is the price difference?
There's a huge price difference, and people that are not into health or not gluten intolerant would never understand this. For example, a normal refined flour loaf of bread would be plus minus 15 to 16 rands, whereas our low carb bread is 70 rand. And you ask why? Because it's made primarily with almonds and almond flour, and we make our own almond flour so that you get the holistic factor into it. And almonds are pretty expensive, so sourcing out cost-effective almonds is next to like impossible. So, but alhamdulillah, once people try our bread, they tend to come back for more. So from the bread, we've come up with low-carb bagels, low-carb naan, low-carb roti, and it just sort of grows. And look, if it's for you, then you would have it, I would say.
So would you say your low-carb bread or your gluten-free bread, a little goes a long way? I'm sure it's more satisfying having the almond flour as opposed to your regular slice of bread.
It's much more dense. One slice would definitely fill you, even half a slice would fill you, for sure. So it lasts longer, and it stays pretty well in the freezer.
So when you started out Binte's Kitchen, the initial idea, were you focused on food in itself, or was it more treats that you looked at?
For me, being insulin resistant, I think definitely treats, because sugar is my weakness personally. So yes, I started dabbling with, I still remember very clearly my first ever brownie that I made, and I started giving a few people to sample it, and they were like, no sugar. Are you sure? No sugar? And I'm like, yes, there is absolutely no refined sugar in it. And that sort of excited me. I can make this, I can make that. Another thing that excited me was creating our first puff cereal. So we've done that, like how you would get Cocoa Pops and that type of thing. We've created our first low-carb puff cereal. So we're pretty amazed by that. We're still in the experimenting phase, but we hope to get that out also pretty soon. So definitely, I think treats was my forte before it went on to meals.
So what is on your menu offering? How many items do you have on your menu? Sorry.
With regards to food, we offer different types of options. We offer meal prep. So for the busy mom who wants a healthier lifestyle, you get 10 meals, so 2 meals a day, a 10-meal option, or we do the daily meal option. So come pick up a healthy meal and off you go. So whether it's a salad on the go, a smoothie on the go, a chaya pot or an overnight oats, anything just on the go, pick up and on the go, you're most welcome to do that. Or we also do like meal preps for like 2 weeks or 1 week, and we have even couriered meals to out of Durban itself. So those are like the meal options that we have. What we do daily with regards to the treats, everything you see here is what we have almost every day. So because we're baking it on a regular basis. So from our cookies to our treats to our granola, all of that's available. If it's not sold, we end up making it like fresh for you.
So Fatima, with your offering, you have quite a fair amount on your menu. So how do you come up with these ideas when you want to create a recipe?
I think it's just a spur of the moment thing, and sometimes just on the spur I'll be driving and I'll be like, this recipe will come up in my mind and I gotta go home, put pen to paper and try this. For example, the puff cereal, legit the idea was created late at night, and my husband thought I'm insane. I went into the kitchen, I made it at that portion of the night, baked it, tasted it, and messaged Fatima and a whole lot of people that I created this thing and I'm super excited. And so it happens at odd times, or I would see something and say, let me try, and how can I, and it just happens. It sometimes it doesn't always come out perfect. And then we just have to keep experimenting, but it happens.
That's what makes it better and gets it perfect. All right, so we're going to take a quick ad break and we'll be back with Fatima from Binte's Kitchen. Welcome back on Modern and Modest. With myself today we have Fatima Mutala Mullah from Binte's Kitchen, who's coaching us on healthy eating and the options that are now readily available from Binte's Kitchen. Welcome back, Fatima. So Fatima, we looked at such a large variant on your menu option, and everything looks really amazing and very interesting. But from all of your treats, which would you say is your favorite?
For me, my favorite would be the Twix bar, which is the one right on the top. It has a layer of, it is an almond-based layer with the caramel is like also almond butter, and then a cacao base on the top. For me, that's my personal favorite. For the general public, it has always been the cookie, the protein cookie, as well as the double decker, which is a brownie base with a cheesecake topping. So that has been huge favorites. My personal favorite is the Twix bar.
The Twix bar. So tell me okay, we know that the Twix is your favorite, but from everything on the menu, which would you say is the healthiest option for people? If someone wanted to place an order, which would be the healthiest that you'd recommend?
I would recommend the cookies with the 60 calories in it. For me, that would definitely be the healthiest. Yeah.
Okay. And your brownies, I know you chatted about
yes,
the double. Is it a double?
The brownie on itself is also the healthiest, I would say. They're on par with each other. The brownie has 0 refined flours or refined sugars. Most of our things we use, like the choc nibs here, dairy-free, egg-free nibs, as well as the chocolates that we use that's coated on the biscuits. As well as in our brownies or anything, we only use Lindt 90%. So that's also really a cost factor, which is why our items are like not priced like a normal cookie would be priced. So yes, we hope Lindt would sponsor us. But
so why would you use 90% of Lindt? We know that dark chocolate has the health benefits, but with no sugar and refined sugar and using a 90%, how does that make a cookie taste? Because it tends to be quite dark then and has a different altered taste to chocolate.
Well, it is like what banters are allowed, what people that are following a banting diet, a paleo diet, a keto diet, what they would be allowed. Also, it is what my nutritionist has said we are allowed to use because of the fact that it has mainly cacao in it, and it's great antioxidant.
So very much the antioxidant benefit
Yeah.
In the dark chocolate. So if people wanted to place an order for your meals or for your treats, how would we go about placing an order from Binte's Kitchen?
So basically, we are like on all our social media platforms. We have our number, so you're most welcome to contact us via WhatsApp or place a call. We have an email address there as well, so you can email and order through as well. So those are the three options that you can contact us.
So can people just email you and maybe request a menu offering and then
Yes,
select
once
it from
they
there?
email us, then we send them options. We work also hand in hand with dietitians. Currently working with Dr. Baker, so she would send her clients to us also. And so she would have specific requirements. For example, her granola has no nibs in it at all for her clients. So we work with what each dietitian requires. And then we have our own sort of healthy meal options that we offer as well.
Okay, so with life being so on the go, and people don't have time to pop you an email on a day-to-day basis, maybe for those individuals that are following a specific diet and want to eat healthy meals, if they needed to place an order for food, your day-to-day meals, can they place an order for the week? And if so, how would we store those meals?
So basically, like our lasagna, it's all ready. Just pop out into the oven, heat and eat, and it's really great. So those are one of the options. The other options are the freezer options. So those you can freeze perfectly well, pop out, pop it into the oven, and you're good to go. We also cater for diabetic patients. We've catered for some doctors even who are busy moms and who can't, manage to prep their meals. So we prep meals for them, for themselves, for hospital, as well as for their homes, because they're moms, they're also professionals. So it makes it easier for them to just come, take something out, pop it into the oven, without having to worry like it's an unhealthy meal option for their family. So alhamdulillah, those are the options that
work well. And with your treats, what would your storage time be?
So most of our treats we tell people to freeze because they freeze very well, although they're made fresh every week. However, we have stored our cookies close up to 3 weeks, and they've stayed perfectly well in a sealed little container, in a sealed little packet thing, and it stayed perfectly well.
So about 3 weeks on your cookies, and the rest you would think?
The cheesecake, bagels, brownies, and Twix need the freezer.
And then you just take it out a little while beforehand.
At a time and eat, enjoy, and then the rest will store. Yeah.
Okay. Now with healthy eating, we all understand that breakfast is the most important meal that we should have, and there's so many of us, even I could use myself as an example, that we're racing out to work or we don't have time for a healthy breakfast. And I think if your morning meal isn't what it should be, you tend to binge throughout the day, and you crave for the sugary treats and so forth. So do you have something that's quick, on the go, and yet has all that nutritional value that we should be having in the mornings?
So it could be like a personal choice for you. What type of person are you? Are you a huge breakfast eater, or are you a quick grab and go gym and then post gym workout?
Yeah.
So the cookie is also great because it's a protein cookie. So grab a cookie, do your workout, come back, and then have your breakfast. Options that we do offer are overnight oats, chia pots, as well as smoothies on the go. So those are our 3 options. The gluten-free granola also is really, really amazing. So pre-gym, you could even have maybe a few scoops of yogurt, throw that in, and on the go. I've done it many times where I've had my little bowl on the side while driving and drop the kids off, and it's really convenient. So yeah, those are some of the options that we have. And then of course, if you're following any other diet or health regimen, you could also have an egg or like a boiled egg on a low carb bread after that. That's also a nice option. Avos on bread is really, really yummy and keeps you satiated for a longer period of time. Yeah.
And I'm sure the almond flour is quite satisfying as well. So the yogurt and the granola You know, people tend to, when you think of breakfast, people have that sweet, how can I say, you crave for the sugars or something sweet in the morning, and we know fruit are your natural sugars. So yogurt and granola, I mean, with your low-carb or gluten-free granola, would you like to perhaps demo how you would do that quick yogurt and granola for us?
Sure. So I'm going to show you guys how quick it is to quickly make a quick parfait on the go. Obviously, it wouldn't look so fancy at home, but today we're going to show you guys very, very quickly how to do this. Squeeze out some coconut yogurt or whatever yogurt you have. We have two flavors. So one is the almond and cranberry. I'm going to pop a little bit of that in.
So how many variations of granola do you have?
We have two variations, which is a almond and cranberry, and then we have an espresso with
coffee lovers.
Yeah, and it's for the coffee lovers for sure, because it has gluten-free and dairy-free nibs in it. So it really satiates you and curbs any of the cravings that you might have. If you have strawberries, lime, just pop that on the top, feel all fancy, and you're good to go.
Your yogurt, is there a specific yogurt that you use, or is it any yogurt that you can grab?
Personally, I love using like a dairy-free option, or that like a coconut yogurt. But you could use like just a normal Greek yogurt. That's
Which should be
perfectly
fine.
also.
Would you suggest like a low fat or a fat-free?
We prefer like a normal full fat.
Just the full fat
yes.
yogurt.
Yeah.
All right. So that's quick and easy, and yet all the
looks
nutritional
pretty and
value.
has all of the nutritional info.
But Fatima, with so much going on for you, the food, the treats, you would need to have the space to work from. So where are you based and where do you work from?
So we currently have we are a home-based industry, so we work from my home. Initially we started off in my kitchen at home, and then obviously space became an issue. So we've currently converted my garage into a kitchen. So that's where my bakers work and most of the things happen, and my fridges are and whatnot. So we currently are a home-based industry.
So a low-carb kitchen.
Yes.
Okay. So just before we wrap up, Fatima, what message could you give our young entrepreneurs out there that would inspire them to do something similar to what you're doing?
For me personally, I would love to say that never say never. Never give up on a dream, because no dream is big or small. So for me personally speaking, I had this dream, and never in my wildest dreams would I have assumed that we would be where we are at today, and we are there. Also for me personally, I feel that the people that you surround yourself with are who you eventually become. So negative vibes bring on negative vibes to your business. I'm surrounded by a group of women that support each other. I firmly believe in women supporting other women. So we support each other's businesses, be it online, be it whatever. We give each other shout outs, we help each other that way. So there's no bringing another person down, which I think is really imperative in teaching our kids this as well.
Absolutely.
So yes, I think that no dream is big enough or small enough. That's my message out there. And there's no such thing as the cliche that a mom can only be a mom or a housewife. Those were like days that our grandmothers taught us that we could do that. I think that today we built in such a way that we could be moms and wives and entrepreneurs and anything that you set your mind to, with proper planning. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on Modern and Modest, and those words will definitely stay with me and many women out there. And all the best, and we wish you all the luck with growing Binte's Kitchen from strength to strength. So we'll be taking a quick ad break, and we'll be back shortly. And please keep those words in mind from Binte's Kitchen: never say never. Welcome back to Modern and Modest, and we are joined today with the delightful Fiona Khan, who is the award-winning published author and poet, and also the founder of an NPO called Global Forum for Literacy and Traveling Books Project. Assalamu alaikum, Fiona, and welcome to Modern and Modest.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for inviting me.
Only a pleasure. So, Fiona, could you, you being an author, would you like to share your story or your journey with what it took to becoming an author and a little background about yourself?
Okay, I think my journey started 27 years ago, and it was an arduous journey sometimes, but mostly very pleasurable, I think, because of the passion that comes and the energy that comes into writing. I think I started in 1991 when I started writing poetry, and progressed into writing books for children, and that went further into writing novels and short stories being published in literary journals around the world. And so yes, I've had a long journey in writing, but I think it was setting many trends, breaking glass ceilings, setting trends for others who now find the door open for them to walk into writing and publishing and find that is a breeze and they can do it and absolutely enjoy it. For me, it was a task that started out of a bit of a dark background, but I think the joy I received out of it, the passion I received out of it, the love that I had for this something that was inspired, and the seed was planted way back when I think I was in probably class 1. I still remember my teacher. She said, "You're such a good writer." And I think when I was in that space in 1991, I went back to that comment. What can you do with yourself? And that's the comment that made me the writer that I am today.
So is that why you've chosen to becoming a writer? Just that passion and that love for writing?
Well, I don't think I would have done it. Sometimes there are things that inspire us or motivate us to take a path that maybe it was meant to be there, but we never really thought about it. And I chose that path because at that time it was the perfect thing to do as a typical Muslim woman, and I think it's important that people listen to this. I was not allowed to go out. I was not allowed to, liberate myself in many ways. I didn't have to have a mind of my own, and I was told what to do, when to do, how to do it, and what was best for everybody else, the family, the husband. But then, I realized that I was an individual who was an achiever. I was an accomplished person, and I was starting to disappear. And I think many women can identify with that. When you become a larger part of a household, you tend to drown your dreams. You tend to suppress whatever it is you have to be the larger person that you are. And I realized my potential. I found that I was bigger than the person I was being asked to be. And I decided to do it. And the truth came out, I think, when I was the first Indian woman who was invited by SABC to be a script writer and a director. And while we were in this workshop, I remember Albie James, who's the leading screenwriter in the world, and he's from London. He said to me, "What would you like to do? Why would you like to be this particular story?" Because he felt the story is about you. And I said, "I want to scratch out of this box. I want to cut a little hole and I want to climb out." So he said, "What is this box?" And that was the first time I admitted that I was an abused person. I never accepted it. I never wanted to talk about it. Now we look at the journey from 1991 to 1998, this happened. So I was silent and quiet and smiling and being all that I could be until I couldn't contain it anymore. And I tell you, when I did that, it was so liberating that I just found my writing changed. I went back and looked at my book, which I started writing in 1991, because I was the first Indian writer to write about indigenous knowledge and indigenous people, like our 1860 Indian settlers. And I still have the book. I still have the handwriting. And what a transformation it was from writing to longhand to going on to typewriter. And then also using now the computer to adapt to the computer, remember? The floppy disks and all of that. And I realized we had so many stories to tell. We had narratives to talk about, that the Indians were treated so badly, that they were slaves, and we were talking about saccharine quoted indenture. It just didn't make sense. And it went to so many different levels. My book, my first Indian book on children's writing, you know, it was called Alakazam. And being accepted as one of the 10 outstanding young South Africans by the Junior Chamber of South Africa in 1997, I think all of that gave me the courage and the strength to say, listen, nobody can hold me back. Energy has the potential to extend wherever you want it to be. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created me, this human being, to be the success that you're meant to be and an influence in other people's lives, then who is anybody to hold that back? And that has inspired me. It has taken me to many levels, but I'm always humble and simple. I think that is my signature. We cannot live on entitlement. I don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us for that. Whatever you do, and I still remember my childhood, my dad teaching me this when I was 4 or 5 years old. He said, what your right hand does, your left hand must never know about. Yeah. And at that age, he taught me about sharing. At that age, he taught me what it is to go and, you know, water every grave, put a flower, or sharing. And that is my knowledge. And the knowledge, your tacit knowledge, your prior knowledge makes a huge difference as to how it dictates your life. And today I sit here in front of you and I make shukr for everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. My total belief and my total life which I've given to him when I think I was 13 or 14 years old has never let me down. With all the challenges, and I believe those challenges were tools to bring me to where I am today and make me the person that I am.
All right, so Fiona, that was indeed a journey that led you to becoming the successful author that you are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alton.
If I could just add, it's not just a journey. We always think of it as a journey, as a point that we have to reach. And my point where I will reach is when I reach my maker, because I know I have done him proud in the work that I've done. I think everybody comes with a gift. And I remember mentioning this to 300 women when we had a little women's gathering. And I said to them, if you know your potential, and you have known your potential all this while, and even if you're 50, 60, 40, whatever it is, if you can work on that potential to give that gift back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have made him happy. Because he has put you on this earth for a purpose. And what is your purpose? And I'm a feminist. I'm not ashamed to say that. I've been a feminist my whole life, I think. And when I look at women and the potential that they have and what they can do, we must remember and never forget that we are the ultimate of the creation. When we forget that, we lose our vision. If we know who we are, we can make inroads anywhere. And this world can be a beautiful place. We cannot complain about it.
I think it's up to us to
Absolutely.
beautify it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we must remember that we are the makers of our leaders. Everybody has a mother. Trump has a mother. If you look at, Obama or Cyril Ramaphosa, all have mothers. Who are they? Female, the feminine.
Okay, so Fiona, with your publishing, how many books have you published thus far?
I've got about 17 books published with titles. But then I've also worked on the 2002 curriculum. The 2002 curriculum was actually a breakthrough with knowledge, with new knowledge. I introduced, and I think it must go on record, that I introduced emotional intelligence, because we held the first Emotional Intelligence World Conference in South Africa, and I presented the children's books. I did a presentation on that. And also I brought about HIV/AIDS education in children's literature. I wrote the first HIV/AIDS book in the world, and it was fully illustrated. I remember at that time there were a lot of criticisms. Non-profit organizations came along and said, "Oh, we were targeting certain ethnic groups." We weren't. The reality was there needed to be a book out there to break stigma, to let people realize that children were vulnerable, because we had the whole Nkosi Johnson type of movement at that time. But people became so focused on that, they forgot that there were schools, there were children, people needed to be educated children needed to be educated, teachers needed to be educated. And that was the breakthrough, because I still remember Dr. Shakira Kassim and Dr. Ibrahim Khan came up to me and said, we don't have this book and we want it. And I remember writing it the same day, sending them the script and coming back, and we worked with the Nanda Subban School for Fine Arts, Animation and Design and illustrated the entire book, which was a phenomenal success. But it also led to other things like Child-Headed Households, which was Sticks, The Greatest Love, Sticks and Stones, which dealt with sexual harassment. We must admit that as a Muslim and an Indian community, for many years, we never accepted it happened in our communities.
Yes, yes.
We want to shy away from it and sweep it under the carpets, but when you see the reality of it, it is happening. It is happening up until this very day, because I deal with counseling and I deal with parents who come to me and say, these are the things that are happening. It doesn't have to be from an adult. What about children doing it to other children? We forget to realize our children practice what they see. Children are visual. And when they see what their parents do, we forget, why did our parents teach us to do whatever we did behind a closed door?
Yes.
Because children see and they listen.
Imitate.
And they imitate. And your parents are your role models. We cannot change that. So when I look at the new knowledge that we brought about, it made a huge difference to the education curriculum, because we found all the other publishing houses now, running with the trend and taking over the entire aspect of HIV/AIDS and EQ. But then also, we brought the entire issue of indigenous knowledge.
Okay, so we're just going to go for a quick ad break, and we'll be back with Fiona chatting more to us about her books and the stories behind each and every novel. Welcome back to Modern and Modest, and with us we are joined by award-winning publisher Fiona Khan. So Fiona, we were chatting about your books and all the books you've published recently, but when it comes to literacy in a child's life, how important is this, and when do you think our kids should start reading books?
Literacy starts from the time the child is conceived. I know people don't believe this and say, oh, it doesn't really matter. But everything the child does, the parent does, the mother does, is passed on to the child. You ever wonder why there's a person who is studying and the child always, when the child is born, the child is always studying? If the parent is an athlete, the child is an athlete. It passes on to the children, and there's an African concept for it. It's called usiko. So it comes from the breast of the mother. And I always tie this back to our past, which we always want to forget. When we hold our babies in our arms, do we sing to them? Do we talk to them? Do we read to them? Do we recite the Quran? Do we tell them our little surahs and our little du'as? Because the child's hearing is not closed off. The child's hearing the child has come into a new world. It wants to absorb everything. So when you look at that concept, you look at the very fact that the child has come with these faculties, that it is a parent's duty to enhance that. Up until this very day, I'm tutoring and helping children with literature and literacy. The biggest problem I find is parents do not have time for the children. I'm going to give you a good example. I would come under a lot of criticisms for this, but how many mothers take that bottle and stuff it into the child's mouth and they're busy doing other things? Would it harm you to take 10 minutes and sit with that child and recite a little story or to say something to that child? Because that child's brain is still working and that child can absorb everything. So literacy starts from the time the child is in the womb. When you look at our campaign, Learn to Read to Write, we say it starts right from the very beginning. We have children who have literacy problems. Why do they have literacy problems? And I work with it all the time. So what have we done now? We brought digital literacies. We brought digital and mobile literacies. We stick the little iPad or the little handheld devices into the child's hand and say, keep busy. Where's the bonding? Where's the communication? And you wonder why psychological and all the emotional problems and anxiety comes with your child. So my point sincerely is this, is every parent should be spending time with their child. The TV, the digital devices and the handheld doesn't make any difference in the child's life if the child doesn't know how to communicate well.
Yes.
You know, the child has to be able to communicate. And you find now, when we listen to our children, do they speak like we want them to speak? Even our language, the linguistics of our lives has changed. We've got more slang, we've got more colloquial language incorporated. And we've got to ask, where does that come from? You know? So that's a part of our Traveling Books project.
Okay, so before we touch on the Traveling Books project, you founded an NPO called the Global Forum for Literacy.
Yes.
When has this started, and what is this forum, together with your Traveling Books project, all about?
Okay, I can honestly say Global Forum for Literacy and Fiona Khan are synonymous. I founded it, but I think it started when I started in 1991. One of the things about being famous is that everybody wants you to be a part of the project. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, they want you to be there. And it started then, where I used to go out to schools and universities and, you know, be a guest speaker, whatever. But I found that I needed to formalize it because it was growing bigger than myself. And I was giving too much of free literature, giving out books, you know, downloading books and giving it out, all at my expense. Believe me, nobody comes to save you when it comes to charity. So what we did was, in 2015, I formalized it. In 2016, I basically launched it on social media. So it became so huge, it even became bigger than me with the followers and people who liked what I was doing, who liked the project. But I found that the teachers loved it more, and parents who found it easier to just download and give it to their children. Because we look at the statistics with Facebook. One of the marvelous things that we have with Facebook is that they give you the statistics. But what was so fascinating was it brought in digital technology. We were riding the digital wave, the fourth industrial revolution, and that was now our benchmark. Digital literacies, mobile literacies. And the Traveling Books project became a sub-project of that. Why? Because we took recycled books. We recycled books. We were the first people to recycle books and create cafe literacies. We created financial literacies, all these environmental literacies, to bring it all together under literacy. So it was like looking at the STEAM principles: science, technology, engineering, environmental education, arts and culture, and mathematics. So wherever we were, we go and give books out. I sell the bags, Global Forum for Literacy bags with a book in it, free book. We went to cafes and there are books there for people who come and have a cup of coffee to read a book and to just, you know, just indulge themselves. Or you can take it away and replace a book. And wherever you are in the world, you will have a book with somebody's signature and they're saying, I'm from this country, or whatever country you come from. So as I told you, my journey is not just a journey, you know. There's different compasses as you come into life, and it just changes your direction. It's like a bending river. So what happened was, I think the Global Forum for Literacy, it grew so big, it even grew bigger than myself. We incorporated the university into it because we have one of our directors is from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And we brought those kind of literacies in because we felt they needed to be a repository of information that can last a lifetime. You know, if I were to look at my grandchildren now, and if they were to go and say, I need something free and need a book, that would be where you would go.
So how would you say you fund these organizations? I mean, there's surely a lot that goes into it.
If I tell you I don't get any funding, would you believe me? And I do it all with these two hands, all with it. And whatever little I get, you know, from my little presentations or when I go anywhere, because everybody feels writers need to do things for free. And we do not do things for fee sabilillah anymore. We need to get paid, at least for our petrol. And we take this opportunity of taking that little bit of money, and then I'll buy some books or go and pay the printer. You know, I'm fortunate because I've been in the industry for so long. My reputation precedes me. People know my principles. People know the fact that I stick by my word. I am so passionate about your word is your bond. We grew up with that. and it's an Islamic principle that is so often discarded. And if I say I'm going to pay you over a period of time, I will do it, I'll stick to it. And that's the relationship I have created in this industry. So I could go to any publisher and say, I'll pay you in 2 months. Is it okay? And they would say, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And they will print like about 100, 200 books for me, and I'd distribute it and go back to them. So it's an ongoing process, and it's networking to get this project going. And yes, of course, we welcome funding from anybody who's willing to sponsor us. And because it's an amazing project, I even went to the extent of saying we accept zakat.
It's very much giving back to the
absolutely.
community.
We always talk about zakat as being something so bad, and we say, yes, use it for making toilets and whatever else. And I am saying to you, educate a child. Yeah. Give them the books that they need. Pay for their books. Sponsor stationery for them. They're using it. We can't go to the extent where we're taking all our monies and investing in toilets. Believe me, South Africa has enough of that. We want those books. So if you have that funding, do offer it to us. And, I think we are at a stage now where we can go on to saying we can print 10,000 books and supply it to rural schools and colleges and anybody who wants them. One of the most fascinating things is I work with pre-service teachers, and I found that pre-service teachers want those resources so badly. Teachers in school want those resources so badly. So what are we doing about it? We always talk about, government doing this and the Department of Education. Listen, we must accept we are South Africans. We've got corruption. We've got state capture and everything else. We are like, I think if you were to say we are the drama of the world, that's what we are. But we are still a beautiful country, and we can still make it work. And I'm very positive about that. But most importantly, we must start our housekeeping. And in every Muslim home, sometimes children tell me, I don't have a book. And I say, do you have a Quran? Do you have it translated into English? Do you have the Roman transliteration? Mm-hmm. You haven't got it, no problem. I'll go to Islamic Propagation Center and get it for you. But it starts in the home. Start reading your Quran in English. The English is absolutely perfect. You don't need a book.
So Fiona, just before we wrap up, with your passion for writing and literacy in children and your traveling books project,
yes,
what message would you like to give both parents and children with regards to the importance of literacy and just reading in itself?
I think whether it's man, woman or child, if anybody realizes that they have a gift, a potential, the capacity of energy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us to be world leaders, everybody has that potential. Everybody has the potential to change the world. Then we would believe in being the success that we are or we want to be. The bottom line is, we undermine our potential. We look for entitlement. I gave this, what do I want in return? I've done that, I want, some recognition. That is not about, if that's not about recognition. If I tell you for 27 years, I've done all of this and people look at me and they still don't know who I am or what I am about and what I do. And suddenly when they Google my name and they say, oh, but you didn't know who you are. And I said, you don't have to know who I am. You just need to know the work that I do is beneficial to other human beings. And that is what everybody should strive for. Be the success that you are meant to be, because you can't be anything more than that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Fiona. Those words were truly inspiring, and it was great having you on our show.
Jazakallah khair.
All right. So that was Fiona Khan, award-winning publisher and poet, and beautifully said, we all have the gift of changing the world. So see you next week at the same time on Modern and Modest with myself, Noshina Ghani.